what sort of edtech really works from an adoption and integration standpoint. Our learning has been that ELT practitioners like to be in control of learning outcomes. Now, what does this mean, right? So we at Glipster, we've identified 9 key ways in which technology can be used, right, in imparting English skills, right? So the top 2 are in-class edtech interventions. Now, this could be, say, conducting live quizzes through the usage of apps such as Quizzes or Quizlet, or even, say, collaborative tools, such as Google Classroom, right? And the second option is a no-brainer. Thanks to COVID, we've had a lot of teachers get into online teaching modes through the use of Zoom, Google Meet, etc. But apart from this, there are 7 others. Now, what are these 7 others? These could be the likes of flashcard-based vocabulary learning tools. They come in at number 3. Gamification apps, the likes of Duolingo, number 4, right? We've also seen ELT practitioners show interest in terms of using YouTube, right? As well as micro lessons on social media platforms such as Instagram, right? But what comes last in the pecking order is AI-based speech assessments, right? And also imparting English through WhatsApp. The next slide, please. So what should be the key elements in an edtech solution? Besides assessments and certifications, ELT practitioners have highlighted the importance of ease of usage, right? Now, this means that it should be a very intuitively designed product with great UI UX, which measures learning outcomes and which has phenomenal engagement. Now, this engagement, I believe we had a conversation with Dr. Ilango a few weeks back, of making edtech a sort of addictive opium, right? Now, how do we do that, right? That's the challenge for edtech players like us. Next slide, please. So what we've studied through this survey is that most of you have told us that edtech effectiveness is directly proportional to the efforts which are put in by the students, right? So while 65% have said that it aids in class interventions, but 54% of you all have said that, see, these solutions do work, but they work only if students have the necessary drive for it, right? And how do you do that? Is through incentivization, right? Gamification, right? You also have timely notifications as well as social validation. Community-based, peer-based validation would come in handy. Next slide, please. So the last insight from this particular category of edtech would be what is the scope for building anything innovative, right? So from existing set of solutions, we see that what has worked for edtech is solutions that take care of imparting vocabulary skills, pronunciation skills, grammar, right? This could perhaps be attributed to the existence of many such dictionary apps, okay, or apps such as Duolingo and its duplicate, so to say, right? But higher-end application of communication, be it in the form of public speaking, impromptu speeches, right? Personal branding, interview prep, group discussion prep, as well as strategic writing, right? These are perhaps areas for edtech players to focus on the next wave of adoption, right? So we've taken care of the edtech part of it. Now let's move on to the immersive learning modes. Next slide, please. So when we talk about immersive learning, the first thing which comes to mind is AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality. But in the scope of our engagement with ELTAI, we are only focused on immersive modes such as videos, audio resources such as podcasts, audiobooks, as well as, say, reading. Because after all, when you talk about ELTAI, you can't think of things other than the India Reads movement. Okay, next slide. So the first insight over here is that YouTube is actually preferred digital resource over other edtech English learning solutions, right? Now, why does this happen? We believe that it's because it is ready-made content, number one. Number two, it is easy to share. You have a link, you just share it, right? So that makes the adoption and integration process all the more easier. Now, what are the sort of channels that get shared on YouTube? These would be the likes of TED Talks or English learning channels, which are suggested by ELT practitioners. Now, other than YouTube, another platform which really works is BBC Learning English. We conducted this survey, and close to 10% have actually recommended the usage of BBC English, which is curated content, from BBC Media and learning words and phrases from that. Next slide. So, in the pecking order of the immersive learning modes, what we see is that immersion through speaking and listening to fluent English speakers, right, is rated as number one, right, followed by audio resources, then reading, and last, it is videos, right? Some of the opinions which we got as to why videos is last in the pecking order is because most of the students see it as a distraction, right? You see it only as entertainment and nothing of intellectual pursuit, right? But if you move on to the next slide, this is a game changer. Audiovisual resources tend to be more effective with text, in the sense that when you watch a Netflix video or a YouTube video with subtitles, with closed captions, or listen to a podcast with English transcripts, then the chances of improving English language skills increases all the more, right? So, and why does that happen? It's because of better contextual understanding. You can associate the usage of a word or phrase with a particular emotion, with a particular situation, right? It also improves pronunciation skills and is highly engaging because you are watching the content which you like to watch, right? So 74% of you believe that it is a very effective medium when it comes to building English vocabulary. Next slide, please. Reading, right? So while ELTAI does promote reading fiction, that is book-based fiction and non-fiction, the survey has thrown out a very interesting insight that reading English news articles as well as editorials, right, should also be encouraged, right? Because 62% of you believe that this helps improve English vocabulary building. The last insight is you've taken the inputs. Now, how do you practice, right? So while AI-based speech assessment apps are in vogue, right, but ELT practitioners amongst you have said that the most effective form of practicing speech is through peer-to-peer interactions. Okay, so now how can this come in handy, right? So you've learned a new word or phrase. How do you retain it better, right? You can come out with a social media post in text, or you can shoot a video of yourself using that word or phrase, right? You can engage in social or professional conversations. But most importantly, how about using, say, hobby clubs? Toastmasters, anyone? Which helps in public speaking, right? So these elements could come in very handy in order to complement the tech in EdTech. Next slide. So we've looked at primary data. Now let's look at a smattering of some secondary research. So what we see is that as per a Kantar IAMAI report, Indians tend to prefer the use of internet for OTT content, right? So India is going to be the home for 900 million internet users going forward, right, in 2025. Out of this, 86% spend their time watching OTT videos and streaming audio platforms, and only 3%, right, on online learning. What can be done in order to change this, right? We've also seen that nearly 76% of Indian consumers in the age group of 18 to 34 prefer watching the open internet or consuming the open internet. What does open internet encapsulate? It has the OTT platforms, it has CTVs, which is connected TVs, smart TVs, right? It also has news channels, websites, right? And it would also have online gaming, right? So is there any way in which we can use these mediums for English learning, right? The third story over there of an IMA professor, Dr. Brij Kothari, he's pioneered something very innovative, right? It's called same language subtitling, and he's using that as a medium to promote mass literacy, reading for 1 billion Indian readers, right? Year after year, we have something known as an ACER report which comes out, right? Something which keeps on saying that a fifth standard student cannot read text of second standard, right? Now, in order to solve this, this is one way in which is actually mooted, and Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has now made it imperative that 50% of content on broadcast media as well as OTT channels will have same language subtitling. So if you're watching a Rajnikant movie in Tamil, the subtitles will be in Tamil, right? And likewise with other languages. Now, we already have most of the subtitles in English, right? Now, this can also promote other language learning, right, in a similar format, okay? And last but not the least, let's look at some data supporting reading. Reading, especially in urban India, right, we are seeing a shift towards non-fiction, right? Self-development books are in vogue, right? So it's the heyday for publishers in the space of non-fiction, right? So that's a good sign. Next slide. So what is the idea that I wanted to seed? Is there a way in which we can build a systematic process of learning into all these immersive modes? I'll stop at that, but I'll still give you a hint in the next slide. This is a screen grab of a movie called Khel Khel Mein. It's running on Netflix, right? You see a word over there. Honestly, when I was watching that movie and when I saw this word, I did not know the meaning of it. Capish? CAPISH, that's another way of spelling it. Anyone knows the meaning? I'm sure 99.99% of you do know, but let me confess, I did not, okay? It's of an Italian origin. It means, did you understand, okay? So is there any way in which, when you're watching a show on Netflix, that you can also learn? You know, so the saying is, don't just Netflix and chill, use it to enhance your communication skill, right? So that's my pitch, that's my presentation for today. The last slide. So let's go build innovative solutions for ELT in India. That's my objective with ELTAI and with all of you all, turning into my evangelists. Look forward to your support. Capish?
Thank you so much, everyone, for sitting here patiently. And now, please, I request all of the participants and everyone to head to the for the technical sessions. It will be in GHI block and D block seminar hall. GHI block, 2nd floor and 3rd floor. So if you go there, volunteers will guide you. And after the technical sessions, you will have tea there itself in GHI block and in D block. And you will have to come back to auditorium for the cultural evening from 5:30. So we hope to see you for the cultural evening. Thank you so much.